URC, folks, the United Rugby Championship got underway this weekend. 8 games on. Quite a few close ones, quite a few teams getting bonus point wins. Pretty good stuff. I've seen 3 of the games and the highlights of the remainder. So we'll go through the games quickly, a few thoughts on each one, some of the fixtures for next week, where's teams lying on the log. I'll also talk a little bit about the end, kind of where I watched the games and where you can find some decent highlights, because it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I'll put timestamps throughout the video if you guys kind of don't want to sit through the whole thing, because there's a wee bit to talk about. But anyway, we'll get cracking with the first one, which was ZEBvLIO and the Lions. Now this one is one of the ones I didn't watch this one live or in full. I've just seen the highlights. It's one of only 2 away wins this weekend, and the only win for a South African side. Weird game. Really weird in that the Lions go out to a 38-0 lead. Like, by 30-something minutes, 43 minutes, they're on 38 points. So they're looking like they could go 60, 70 points here. But they don't score any points after a penalty on 43. They get tries through Ulingo, so congratulations to Jumbo Ulingo. He gets the first try ever of the United Rugby Championship on 11 minutes. Ordendale Makwane, he gets a double in 2 minutes. And then Visaki gets the last one for the Lions, all in the first half. 38-0 lead. And then suddenly a reversal of fortunes happens with ZEBvLIO kind of stepping it up. And it's similar story. It's a pretty short space of time where they just go bang, 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 get try after try. Kana, a penalty try, Boni and Fabiani from 52 to 65. They take their score out to 26 points. So, if nothing else, they pick up a try bonus point, ZEBvLIO, despite the home loss. They'll probably be pretty gutted that they just seemed a bit shocked early. Again, I haven't watched the game in full, but they were letting in some pretty soft ones. And the Lions will certainly be cursing themselves for taking the foot off the gas, but they can't really complain. They're in third. They got a bonus point win away from home, the only South African team to pick up a win. So, they had a guy in the bin for a little while, but tackling percentage in this game was relatively low compared to some of the other ones, with ZEBvLIO at 81, the Lions at 83. So both sides maybe a little bit guilty of letting in some soft ones. Bruno for ZEBvLIO, 124 run meter, 6 defenders beaten. Makwane for the Lions gets a double, 80 run meter, 6 defenders beaten. But it wasn't all. Ball and hand stuff. Chituka gets 14 from 16 tackles, and Banda gets 12 from 13. So there were some good performances. But yeah, weird game to go 38-0 and then concede 26 points on the bounce. But definitely take the win. And ZEBvLIO, I guess, at 38-0. Picking up 1 point by the end of the game will actually seem like a pretty decent result. So, the Lions are in third. ZEBvLIO is in 13th. The Lions, they go away to play Scarlets next week. And ZEBvLIO are at home to Ulster. So they get a couple of home games on the bounce. The next one, Cardiff and Connacht. This one I did watch with Irish commentary, so that was, I didn't really pick up much on what was going on with the commentary, but that's alright, you don't need commentary, I'm kind of used to that. I used to live in China, and I would pick up whatever feeds that I could back in the days when broadcasting rights weren't what they were, so you had to rely on kind of dodgy streams. It could be in Japanese or Spanish or Portuguese or anything really. So Irish was new, but certainly the rugby on display was pretty entertaining. I really enjoyed this game. It was a weird game though. Like, Cardiff play some entertaining rugby, and admittedly I haven't seen a lot of Cardiff in recent years. But, man, they like getting the ball to their wingers, which was pretty entertaining. And they essentially played the game without a 10. Like, Priestland went down within about a minute. I think Belam cracked him in the head accidentally with his knee as he was kind of going past him as Priestland lay on the ground. And then, who was it that came on? Evans? And then he caught a high ball and was injured in that incident as well. So by 20 minutes, Cardiff, both their 10s are gone. So it was a weird mix of sometimes Halaholo was standing at first receiver. Sometimes it was Lloyd Williams. What a weird game. Like, of all the positions as well, to be losing within 20 minutes. but they still look pretty good. Maybe this should be a new thing where you don't need a 10. Just play with multiple guys kind of acting at first receiver. It was totally bizarre. But, 5 tries for Cardiff. That's a really good return. Tries to Amos. I think that one was a pretty good one. What was that one? I've watched this game several days ago. It was a ripper of a pass from Lloyd Williams, and that was the grubber that put Connor under pressure in the first place. So, yeah, they went, they got the first try. Holla got 1 of 39. Lane 2, 51 of 70. He's a big unit, man. He's quick. I love watching him. The amount he got the ball in this game was very pleasing. Belcher got 1 on 74. 2 for Marmion for Connacht, so he played the whole game. But, there were yellow cards. Connacht was sometimes a bit guilty of throwing away a ball. They had a good attacking opportunity 5 metres out with the line out and couldn't retain the ball. There was like 3 yellow cards. At one point it was 14 on 13 in this game because there were kind of yellow cards left, right, and centre. One was Cardi getting he got pinged for a shoulder charge. One was Cardiff, I think, just too many penalties in the red zone. That was Seb Davis. I forget who the other one was. Oh, it was Hansen for blocking a chip and chase. So yeah, it was all on in this game, man. Very weird, but certainly entertaining. I really did quite enjoy that one. Cardiff finishes with more possession and more territory, more run meters. Cardiff's breakdown work was really good. I love their wingers, so that was really good. Lane, 70 run meters, 3 clean breaks. Like seeing the big man in space was proper entertainment. Prendergast for Connacht had 16 out of 17 tackles, which is pretty good. Their scrum, I thought, did pretty well, but overall, it's still no points on the log for Connacht, and it's a win for Cardiff. So Cardiff, they are 4th, 5 points, so pretty good result for them at home. And Connacht are 14th, which is not ideal, but they are back home to play the Bulls next week. And Cardiff have to travel, but not too far, because they are going to play the Ospreys away. So that should be a pretty entertaining one. The next game, Ulster and Glasgow, also seemed like a pretty entertaining one, but it's not one that I saw in full. I've kind of just caught up on that one. A couple of penalty tries, 1 each way for this one, so that's kind of also a bit unusual in itself. Compared to some of the other games, the defensive numbers were pretty high in this one, but I'm not sure because, again, I haven't seen the game, so you guys might need to enlighten me. Like, Glasgow finishes with some really good stats. Some areas they're a bit poor, possession, 62% possession, 58% territory, but their lineout's good, 11 from 11. Like Ulster's lineout seemed to struggle a wee bit in this one. They had 11 from 15, which is not ideal. Ulster are forced to make 200 tackles, 200 plus, and they tackled at 90%, which is a Herculean shift in itself. Glasgow were at 92% just to go one better, but they only had to make about half as many tackles. So, yeah, it's a weird game to try and piece together from the limited highlights that I've seen, but certainly a few tries. A penalty try early on for Ulster. That one was the deliberate knock-on by Forbes. He gets a yellow card for that one as well, because Ulster seemed to have a big overlap out left. Roberts, Moore, Timoney, and Doak. Doak's one was proper good bit of skill. That one really stuck in the mind, even though there's 8 games, so it's hard to kind of get everything to stick in the mind, but that one does. That one was Addison with a charge down, really good, poise to regather it, and then have he gets tackled, the presence of mind to offload it to Doak, who's running a good support line. And that one was when Ulster had a yellow card as well, so that was probably the game, in that try, given how close this game ended up. But tries to Horn Matthews, a penalty try, and one for Dobby for Glasgow as well. I think Darge actually got man of the match though in a losing effort, which is not all that easy. But yeah, it was tight, very back and forth. I mean, Glasgow were in the lead at half time actually, but it was close. It was only 1 point, 15-14. But yeah, Ulster looked to have it pretty much in the bag. When it was, what was the score? It was looking pretty comfortable, 35-22. But then, that last try to Dobby put them under pressure, but couldn't quite get that last score. So yeah, pretty crazy game seemingly. Like I said, a few cards, some good skills. I mean, Doak finishes with a try and a try assist. Not bad for a sub. Reedy has 23 out of 24 tackles. Darge, like I mentioned, 30 run meters, 5 defenders beaten, 10 from 10 tackles. Pretty good shift. The hands seem to have been pretty good in this game. There were a few knock-ons, at least according to the stats, but yeah. Ulster are 5th, so again, 5-point win at home. Not too bad. Glasgow, the best of the losers, picking up 2 bonus points. So a bonus point for 4 tries and a bonus point for getting within 7 away from home. If you are going to lose, is probably the best way to get it done. So Glasgow are actually in 9th, which is not too bad. They're at home to the Sharks next week, and Ulster travel to Italy to play ZEBvLIO. So that will be, they'll be looking going 2 from 2, seriously. So yeah, it could be a bit of fun. The next one, as I scramble because I didn't write these games down in order, the Benetton and Stormers game. Also a bit of a weird one. It was looking a bit ominous. I haven't seen this one in full either. I watched this one on highlights, but the Stormers hitting pretty early on this one through Ricus Pretorius, and he's a guy who I'm kind of pretty familiar with. From his time with the Stormers, he's been in pretty good form for kind of the last 18 months or so, and he's involved in both their tries. He gets the first one. That one was a kick through and a bit of a bobble that he managed to pounce on to make them 5-0 up. But the try of the game is probably Lucchese's one, the hooker. He gets a proper long distance try for a hooker. Goodness me, he ran very, very far, 30, 40 meters. I don't know. He's got some wheels. Nobody was in front of him. I'm not sure what he was thinking when he looked up and saw that much space, but a good try from him. The other tries for Benetton were Nema and Menoncello. The other one was from Nell for the Stormers, but it was Pretorius that set that one up as well. So, yeah, good comeback win because Benetton were looking at a wee bit of trouble, 18 points to 7 down. But they managed to come back with the Nema try, a penalty, and then the final try on 71 minutes. So they managed to go in front towards the death. The crowd seemed to be getting into that when their team finally managed to go in front. Tackling, though, Benetton, goodness gracious, 71%. That's troubling. That's very troubling. The Stormers were at 85, but man, the Stormers didn't have a lot of ball. 68% Benetton possession, 63% Benetton territory. The Stormers make 156 tackles to Benetton's 44. So by those numbers, this game shouldn't have even been as close as it was. So yeah, Benetton's scrum didn't seem to be the best according to the stats, and the Stormers lineup equally didn't seem to impress that much. So yeah, it's a solid win, but maybe a little bit troubling in some areas, but I guess get your campaign off with a win. So it's a 4-point win for Benetton. They are in 8th, so I think they're the last place of the winning teams, and the Stormers are in 12th. The Stormers are away to Munster. They did get the 1 point for finishing within 7, so not the end of the world, but it's not going to get any easier when they travel over to play Munster. That's a pretty tough place to go, and Benetton, like ZEBvLIO, get to stay at home. And they will host Edinburgh. So, yeah, it's good because at least one of the Italian teams managed to get a win. And interestingly, none of the countries went winless this week. So it was kind of good to see everybody get on the board. The next one was the kind of match that was billed to be, the match of the weekend. Leinster and the Bulls. And it ends up being pretty bloody one-sided. I know the Bulls are without their Springboks, but you Bulls fans will have to remind me, how many Springboks have the Bulls got? I think it's Inyakane. Is it Van Staden? I know Vermeulen's going to Ulster, so I'm not sure he counts anymore, but I don't know. It's a little bit troubling. Obviously, Leinster's a really hard place to go. These guys aren't like back-to-back champions for no reason. But 31-3, that's a hiding, man. I know it's only 4 tries. It's 4 tries to 0. 3 points to the Bulls. I mean, the Bulls did have chances in this game. I did actually watch this one in full. Again, I watched it with Irish commentary, so may have missed out on some stuff. But again, I'm not too fussed about that. It was good to see a crowd at this one for sure. But yeah, Leinster was just a very kind of typical Leinster game, man. They showed some really slick hands. Some of the handling in this game, like Van der Vlier's try, great hands from Leinster. I think he flattened the fullback from the Bulls. The hands in the build-up were phenomenal. Porter's try, it was just all Leinster's ball. I think they turned over a Bulls line out, and I think it was Frawley was in the build-up in there. I can't remember, but it was like 17-0 pretty early on. James Ryan was getting line-out steals when the Bulls were finally actually getting a chance. So, yeah, the Bulls' only points came through a penalty on about 22 minutes. But right before that, Tamboy had gone close. So the Bulls were close on a few occasions. There was one on like 32 where you thought Tamboy had gone over again. There were a heap of phases, but the TMO checked it and there was a knock-on in the build-up. So when they went back for the advantage, the Bulls tapped and went and summarily knocked it on. So it really wasn't the Bulls' day. But yeah, Leinster are just brutal. A maul try to Tracy, and then Ross Byrne gets the bonus point one with 11 minutes to go, and slick hands again in the build-up. So yeah, it's 4 tries. It's very comfortable, man. They just kind of squeeze the life out of the Bulls. Bulls had their chances, as I said, but the position and territory is even. But run meters 599 to 313 tells a bit of a story. Both scrums conceded penalties at times, which was interesting. Luke McGrath looked sharp. He had a couple of clean breaks, 84 run meters. He was quite keen to snipe if they gave him some space. But as I mentioned, Tumboy was involved, 57 run meters, 5 defenders beaten from him. Marcel Coetzee makes 22 out of 24 tackles. He'll be familiar with making that trip to Dublin. But not the result he would have wanted. I think Van der Vliet gets man of the match. Along with his try, he gets 20 out of 22 tackles as well. So huge work rate. Yeah, their maul was good. Their hands were good. Just too good. Just too good. So Leinster, they are first on the log. 5 points. Good points differential. It's a big statement win early on in the season. For the Bulls, yeah, it's a little bit troubling. But as I said, that's pretty much the hardest start you could get. So it'll get easier. I mean, they play Connacht next week away, which is not an easy place to go by any means. But it's not the reigning 4-time champions, so kind of take that for what it's worth. Leinster are away from home. They will go to Wales to play Dragons, so they'll be big-time favourites for that one as well. The next one, Edinburgh and Scarlets. That one, didn't see the game, only saw the highlights, but yeah, weird. Darcy Graham gets 2 tries. One of them is probably a bit controversial. I don't know. I only saw that the highlight package was pretty brief. But that was a weird try. I mean, they get tries through Kinghorn, who I didn't actually remember could play 10. That way he's a big ranger unit. He's got some gas, doesn't he, for a 10. Bennett and 2 to Darcy Graham. Darcy Graham's 39th minute one. The ruck was formed. There was a ball. Was it out at the back of the ruck? The Edinburgh guys seemed to think so because they were kind of coming around the corner looking, and eventually the ball does bobble out. Darcy Graham pinches it and just gasses it for the line. So given the scoreline, man, that's a pretty brutal one to concede for Scarlets. But I mean, Scarlets scored some tries of their own. Evans, Hardy, and McNichol. Hardy's one was a proper good snipe from him as well into a gap. Pretty easy stuff. He made it look easy. Jonathan Davis set up one for McNichol with a nice inside ball. So yeah, close game. Seemed to be pretty entertaining based on what limited amount I saw. Not sure what was up with Edinburgh conceding 18 penalties. That's a massive amount. Only 6 to Scarlets. That's a very, very lopsided number. But that being said, Scarlets line out 17 from 21 attempts is not pretty reading either. Both sides kind of missing some scrums as well, seemingly. So yeah, it seemed to be pretty entertaining, some good hands, at least in the few minutes that I've seen, but bizarre. Very bizarre. I mean, Darcy Graham, you gotta love that guy. I should mention the new stadium looked great. How good does that look compared to cavernous like Murrayfield with even if it's 10,000 people there, it would still look empty, right? So yeah, that looked phenomenal. Yeah, very pleasing, and then they get a win on home turf. So very, very pleasing stuff. Edinburgh. They're in 6th on 5 points. Scarlets at least pick up the losing bonus points, so they are in 10th. Yeah, they're away. They're home actually. Sorry, the Scarlets to the Lions. Now the Lions are the only South African team to get a win, but the Scarlets should have to back themselves. I mean, the Lions supposedly are the weakest of the 4 South African teams, so they definitely need to bounce back with a win. Edinburgh are off to Italy to play Benetton, which is actually a pretty important game because, in their Italy-Scotland conference in terms of European qualification, you need to be beating those teams around you. Kalamafoni made 18 out of 22 tackles. The missed 4 is not great, but the next best Scarlet had 12. So big shift from him. Darcy Graham was the man for Edinburgh. 8 defenders beaten, 74 run meters, 2 clean breaks, 2 tries. Yeah, someone in the comments once called him a discount Cheslin Colby. Well, you got pretty good value for him in that one. The next one, Munster against the Sharks. This is the other game that I did see. This one with English commentary, which was a bit easier for me. Unfortunately, I knew the result with this one because by the time I switched it on, it was already finished, but the coverage was still going, so they still had the score up. I was hoping to kind of start it from the beginning, but the score was there, so that was a bit of a bugger. But, man, what a win. What a statement win. 42 points to 17. Now, as far as I'm aware, just off the top of my head, I haven't looked it up. I should have looked it up. But the Sharks are the team that are without the most Springboks. The Sharks have got a lot of Springbok guys absent from the squad compared to, I think, the other 3 teams. The Stormers have got a few big front rowers. And as I mentioned, the Bulls have got at least a couple. But the Sharks have got a pretty serious collective of Springboks to come back. And the commentary team seemed quite concerned about that, about the fact that, the South African teams are going to get better, they're going to get better, they're going to get better, because by this point, obviously, they knew the result that the other 2 teams had lost, and the Lions had got the win over Zebra. So they did seem a little bit concerned that they weren't up to scratch, but they're all away from home, so I wouldn't kind of read too much into it. But anyway, it's a big win for Munster. Really good to see Simon Zebo back. He was having a field day. Wasn't he loving it? You could see the joy on his face. 2 tries for him, 1 at the start, 1 at the finish. Craig Casey gets man of the match and a try. His delivery of the ball is still excellent. Gavin Coombs still shows that he's a proper powerful unit. Like Munster fans have told me, guys you need to look out for are like Craig Casey and Gavin Coombs, and they lived up to the billing. Absolutely. Gavin Coombs is destructive from 5 metres out, isn't he? Chris Clotter got 1 on 77 as well. 2 tries for the Sharks, Chamberlain and Pinkley. A bit disappointing. They did kick a few penalties. They missed a penalty. They had a chance. The Sharks actually started the game okay. They had a fair bit of time down Munster's end, but they weren't really able to score. And then Zebo got the first one from turnover ball. It was kind of brutal. He just turnover ball and ripped down the other end of the field with some proper wheels. Like they couldn't catch him. He still got some serious gas. Dutoy got yellow carded, so that was kind of costly as well. It was Casey, I think, got the sniping try during the yellow card. But, I mean, the Sharks did kick a penalty during the yellow card as well. So they managed the time okay. But, Munster were just brutal. Like, they scored the Coombs' first try at the end of the first half from memory. And they didn't want to end. They didn't want to go into the sheds without getting another try. Like, ruthless. Really ruthless. Good to see Achia Snyman in the squad after such a big period out. So, overall, very positive result for Munster. That big penalty from Haley, goodness gracious, he's got a boot on him as well. So, good stuff. Like, very pleasing from Munster. You'd have to be really, really happy with that. Whereas the Sharks, as I mentioned, they've still got a big contingent to come back, not for a while, but I still think they'll be pretty gutted with the way they went in that one. Munster dominates the position in the territory, 61-39. They have 11 offloads to 1, which is crazy. The Sharks concede 17 penalties to 6. Brutal. Sharks too many penalties. I wrote Munster's lethal. The guys I mentioned, Zebo, Coombs and Casey already. The Sharks need their box back, but they'll have to wait, is my note from when I actually watched the game. Zebo, 118 run meters, 2 clean breaks, 2 tries. Dylan Richardson made 25 out of 27 tackles on a pretty big defensive shift, but it was kind of all for naught on that one. So Munster, really, really good. Great to see a crowd back there. I think it was 50% capacity for that one. So, really, really pleasing. And the last one, goodness gracious. Dragons and Ospreys. So an all-Welsh affair. Good to see Gareth Anscombe back for Ospreys, back fit. Seemingly he was involved. My man, Michael Collins. I say my man. He used to play for the Blues. And he was kind of panned as being a bit rubbish because they used to play him at fullback. And then he went to the Highlanders, played centre and looked really good. And he was playing centre for the Ospreys, and I think that's definitely his position, isn't it? Man, he was good. That being said, the Dragons got the try scoring underway. Good crowd at, was it Rodney Parade? Yeah, that was nice to see. 7-0 early for Dragons, but Michael Collins got his try. I think it was during a yellow card period as well, so he evened it up. Dragons were keen to kind of take the points, took a couple of penalties, took a drop goal. They were looking pretty comfy, 16 points to 7, but then Ospreys with the penalties and then a couple of tries. I think when Dragons had a man in the bin, they got 2 tries, which is pretty lethal work. Good capitalising on the extra man, basically. So, yeah, one from Luke Morgan and one from Michael Collins. Must have been the start and finish of that yellow card. So, yeah, Rodri Williams got one at the death to at least get a losing bonus point out of it for Dragons. But, yeah, they'll be a bit disappointed because they were, at least from the highlights, 16 points to 7 up. Is decent without being comfortable, but then surrendered quite a few points. So not sure what was going on with the scrums. They must have been pretty messy because Dragons are 4 from 8 and Ospreys are 3 from 7. So that's pretty bad. Some scrum numbers. I'm not sure what's the deals with that. If it was just messy. Webb had 2 try assists, which is fantastic. Collins, the 2 tries, like I mentioned, he seems to have settled down in Wales well, which is good news for him. Griffiths for Dragons had 15 from 15 tackles in a losing effort. So, Dragons are at home to Leinster next week. Ospreys are at home to Cardiff. So, another kind of all Welsh clash for them. We'll see how things go. So, yeah, pretty interesting weekend of games. I caught up on as much as I could. In terms of how I watch them, because over here in New Zealand, we've got one main broadcaster for all the rugby, but this competition has been brought by the rival broadcaster who has no other rugby, which is quite frustrating for me as a Kiwi. But yeah, I guess we're not really the target audience, so they just kind of sold the rights. So with the New Zealand broadcaster over here is targeting expat South Africans because the only games they showed were all the South African games. So I've got access to the games on the URC TV if I want to buy them, but it's like $12 a game, or what was it, like $20 for the weekend? And bro, $12 a game, that's expensive because I can get Sky, which is the local broadcaster with all the other rugby, I can get them like $20 a week or $25 a week. So for $12 a game or $20 for the weekend's games, which only includes 4. I can't watch any of the games that are on the local broadcaster on URC TV. It's kind of like you either get one or the other or both. So I watched using RTE and was it TR4? The Irish language channel. I just used my VPN, man. Put myself into Ireland and I watched that. That's why I ended up watching 3 of the Irish games, Munster, Leinster and Connacht. So at least I got to see a bit of a variety. I do see now the BBC iPlayer's got Edinburgh Scarlets on SC4. So if I want to watch it in Welsh, Irish, I'm going to be learning some languages while I watch the URC apparently. So yeah, that's been working for me. I think that's the way I'm going to go forward. I'll try and catch a few games each week. Hopefully I don't have to pay $12 a game because like I said, I want to pay them, but $12 a game that's a bit hefty. And the other broadcaster, I don't want to subscribe for their monthly package for only 4 games. That's a pretty expensive price as well. So I'm being a bit stingy. But there you go, the VPN got me through. So yeah, it worked pretty well. But anyway, that's the first round of the URC. Pleasing to see how many of the games were close. It's a win. 1 South African team won, 2 Welsh teams, 1 Scottish team, 1 Italian team, and 3 of the 4 Irish teams. But 6 of the 8 home teams, I think, is a key point as well. And none of the South African teams were at home. So the fact that only 2 away teams got wins, and one of them was South African, I think bodes relatively well. I don't think you should be too negative about like the likes of the Bulls and the Sharks getting kind of well done against 2 of the top teams when it's their first game in and they're away from home and they're without their Springboks. So yeah, wouldn't be reading too much into it, but we'll see how it goes. Pleasing how many games were quite close. It looks pretty good. The highlights, I used a mixture of, again, VPN onto Supersport. They do 5-minute highlight packages. Premier Sports seems to do 4-minute highlight packages. URC's own website does 3-minute highlight packages, which suck. 3 minutes is that's cramming too much in. 5 minutes is even tight. 4 minutes is a bit like they cut stuff out as well. You miss what happened with yellow cards and you miss penalties. It'd be ideal if they had like 7-minute highlight packages. But anyway, they seem to be a bit stingy on the old highlights. But anyway, I've been talking for almost half an hour, can You guys take care of yourselves. If you did make it all this way, can congratulations. That's you have my heart most thanks. Good to have you along. And yeah, you guys have any thoughts? I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.